Well, on Dave's Home Supply Getting Up to Speed, we head back to the state of Montana where we're going to talk to one of the drivers that has spent a lot of time there and he's had a lot of success there. So they get set for their championship weekend at Big Sky Speedway in Billings this Friday and Saturday night. We're going to be talking to Phil Dietz out of Laurel, Montana. That's coming up next on Getting Up to Speed, presented by Dave's Home Supply after these messages. Dave's Home Supply specializes in cabinets, flooring, and countertops. Visit their website at daveshomesupply.com to look at products, services, financing, and even a free estimate. Are you looking for bookkeeping, payroll, or income tax services? Then check out the folks at For You Simple Bookkeeping. They are a licensed tax preparer throughout the entire United States. For more information, click on the link in the description. This broadcast is brought to you by Meat Freaks Jerky Club. Get the best jerky the world has to offer straight to your door by visiting meatfreaksjerkyclub.com. Pick your box and plan, tell them where to ship, and receive and enjoy. Log on to meatfreaksjerky.com and use promo code SPEED. On the phone is one of the big contenders when it comes to sprint car racing in Big Sky country, Phil Dietz. Phil hails out of Laurel, Montana, driving the number 72 360 sprint car. Phil, great to have you on here.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Well, you've kind of seen it. You've seen a lot of change in the state of Montana. I was just going through everything. 5-time champion there through 3 different series. Back in 2003, it was the Montana Sprint Tour. That's when you won the championship there. Then the Big Sky Sprint Tour in 2007 and 12. And the latest iteration of a series there, 2013, 2015, with the ASCS Frontier Region, which is currently operating.
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate to have a long career here in Montana and had some really good success at it. Seen a lot of different banners and a lot of different organizations come through here. And, I think with the current staff that they have over here, things are looking really well for Montana. We just need to work on, working with other sanctioning bodies in the area to get car count up and things like that. So
definitely a good thing to hit on. A couple of big weeks, Labor Day weekend, obviously the annual Montana Roundup at Great Falls at Electric City Speedway, but the weekend before, big payday at Big Sky Speedway for the Harvey Ostermiller Memorial. And, that's really cool to see, and I'm sure you're happy to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and what better way to honor one of the, pioneers of sprint car racing in Montana, being Harvey Ostermiller, but brought in a lot of good competition, a lot of good cars that we don't normally see here. And, I think, obviously we didn't have the results that we were looking for, but I think it opened up some people's eyes of just how fast some of the competition here in Montana is with some of the results of, say, like, Kelly Miller, Trevor Kirkland, and guys like that. So.
Well, and I think, too, Montana is, I wouldn't say a neglected part of the country, but definitely is definitely a deal where you see guys go out and race there, whether they're native in the region or whether they are visiting, and it's produced some really good drivers. I mean, yourself, Trevor Kirkland, as far as domestic racers, the Peterson organization is famed there, but then you look at some of the guys that have traveled some, Kelly Miller, Skylar G., and, the Richard Samore 39C team was a very big staple either with Jason Sowald or Travis Rylett. And I think Logan Foiler also falls in that category as well, as drivers that hone their skills or find a lot of success, and it takes them to some successful opportunities later down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been pretty fortunate to produce some pretty good drivers. Some of them have, gone away and moved out of Montana and done some, big things. I think a guy would be, if a guy didn't mention J.J. Hickle in the 23N car for those couple of years when he was coming over and doing the, pretty consistent appearance, if you will. But, yeah, I mean, we've produced some pretty good race car drivers out of here, and I think when I started, Montana was kind of the place where, outside, from Washington and California would come up for an easy win, but we've really, caught up and produced some really good drivers that can, run very well and really consistent with outside teams.
Yes. Yeah. Great point that you bring up J.J. Hickel and Brock Limley also with the Peterson team winning a ASCS National Tour race at Great Falls. And also can't forget Shoto's Joe Ramaker.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, unfortunately Joe stepped away and he's been away long enough now that he kind of, doesn't get brought up too much anymore, but he was definitely one of the top tier teams to come out of Montana for a very long time.
Well, and it was always so cool too, and this is a bit of a history lesson for some listeners maybe that are new to sprint car racing on the West Coast or unfamiliar with operations in the Pacific Northwest if you're listening elsewhere. But what's cool about Montana is it's kind of that gap between the Pacific Northwest / West Coast and the Midwest, kind of the gateway to the Midwest or the gateway to the Pacific Northwest. But several years there would be some co-sanctioned races. The names of the series and everything they've definitely changed over the years, but it was always cool to see the side-by-side co-sanctioned deals with Northern Sprint Tour, ASCS Rocky Mountain Region, the Alberta Sprint Tour would come in, and even ASCS Northwest, and there'd be some guys, as you said, would crank out a win, and it would kind of change their careers for the better. Gary Taylor, I think it was, was it the Scott Pierce 5SP got a win there? Randy Miller from Rapid City was always a tough guy to race against, and Jared Ridge, also very, very fast, and I think got one of his first ever sprint car wins out there.
Yeah, a lot of guys, from this region, and a lot of first time winners. I guess when I was a kid, I started racing sprint cars when I was 13, and Randy Miller in the 2 Tech car was always somebody you looked up to as far as being just one of the fastest guys, in the Midwest, as well as he could go anywhere and be competitive, but. Shane Liebig, guys like that, Jerry Bray, who is now the track owner here in Billings. I mean, those guys could go anywhere and be fast. But, yeah, a lot of guys, cut their teeth here, but a lot of guys came in and got some big wins. I remember the Oh Boy Alberto car, Gary Taylor driving that thing in Great Falls and getting a big NST win. And, just, a lot of good memories here in Montana.
Yes, and also, we talk about the gateway to the West Coast and the Midwest, but also to Alberta, where some successful guys came down. We talked about Richard Seymour, who had a stable of drivers over the years that would do very well, but also guys like Tim G, definitely somebody not to discount back in the day.
Yeah, I didn't get to race with Tim earlier on in his career, but got to race with him for a couple of years, when he came back, but then was very fortunate enough to be able to race with Skylar for many years. And Skylar's actually, been one of my close friends, and we text back and forth all the time, giving each other crap and, things like that. But, been very fortunate to have a lot of good Canadian cars. Kelly Miller's having a stellar year. Can't say enough about what those guys are doing right now. They're really making everybody up their game. But guys like Bill Boyce, who unfortunately we just lost to about a cancer here a couple weeks ago. But guys like that, Bill Boyce was always one of the premier cars when he would show up, and Wade Fleming, the Adams boys when they would show up. But yeah, lots of great cars that would come to Montana, and it was kind of a melting pot, so to speak, I guess.
Yes, no doubt. And for you, you said started racing around 13. What year would have that been approximately?
So I started racing in '99.
Okay.
and then was the Montana Open Wheel Racing Association Rookie of the Year that year, and then that actually was the last year of that series, and then I believe that's when it moved into the Montana Sprint Tour after that.
Okay. And then about the mid-2000s or so, it became Big Sky Sprint Tour, BSST.
Yes, sir. Yep. You're stretching my memory pretty thin here, but
yeah,
I believe Doug Strong ran it under the Montana Sprint Tour banner for several years, or a couple, 2-3 years, and then went to the Big Sky Sprint Tour, and then the Montana Sprint Tour. I can't remember all the names honestly, Ben, but
sure.
It's been a lot of things, but always kind of been the same players involved. So
yeah. 2013, ASCS Frontier Region, you won the inaugural year, and then backed it up a couple years later in 2015, and then you also had the North American Sprint Association, the NSA Shootout Series with Mike Quigley, that kind of ran side by side there for a couple of years. So it offered a lot of sprint car racing for Montana teams there for a little bit.
Yeah, we stepped away there after 15 for about 6 years and got back into it in 2020. But, I know there's been a lot of talk about adding another support class, with a limited sprint car series and things like that. That's really brought a lot more exposure as far as, getting people started in the sport, and then they can work their way into a 360 car and then potentially even move on to bigger and better things. But, Jerry Bray has started a wingless sprint class at Big Sky Speedway here in Billings, Montana. That's, they started out here with 3-4 cars, and now they're averaging about 8-9 cars a race. So there is interest in sprint car racing right now. It's just, it takes a little while to build it back up. So
sure. And for you, that's something I was going to ask. You stepped away, and now that you've came back, the changes, that approximately 5 race season absence, what were some of the differences that you noticed, or what is their differences right from the get-go?
I guess as far as me stepping away in 15 to where it was in 2020 when I got back into it, just the quality of the competition, in equipment and the drivers around here has just gotten so much stiffer, I guess. Everybody's got very nice equipment. Everybody's, the level of competition has just been elevated so much because of that, and because of guys going and traveling and, finding speed there too. But also, with the economy and things, we've lost some car count, but, things are looking up as far as car count goes, with the bigger races being scheduled, and, Josh Stagg is, and team is trying to build it back into something that, we're getting 15 to 20 cars on average every night. So,
yes, definitely swinging in the positive direction. And you guys had some excellent car counts for those 2 big race weekends that we talked about, Labor Day at Great Falls, and then the week before for the Ostermiller at Big Sky. A lot of guys that came from outside the area to participate in those events.
Yeah, a lot of good cars, a lot of good traveling teams. Some were in Billings that weren't in Great Falls, and vice versa. But big money attracts big names, and obviously, a couple of our guys held their own and did very well. I kind of think of Logan as being one of the one of our guys. When he is here, he's been coming to Montana for several years now, pretty regular. So it was pretty neat to see him win that last race in Great Falls there.
Sure. And for people that aren't familiar, Montana boasts 3 tracks: Gallatin Speedway in Belgrade, next to Bozeman and not too far from Yellowstone, then Great Falls, Electric City Speedway, and then Billings has Big Sky Speedway. And all 3 racetracks they're about similar in size, and do step in and correct me if I'm wrong, but very similar kind of shape and configuration, but yet also very different in each regard.
Yeah, each one kind of, obviously Billings being the bigger of the three, but, Great Falls and Belgrade similar in size, but, each one has very different characteristics. Um, you know, the Leach brothers purchasing Great Falls several years ago, making all the improvements that they've made, have made that a very nice little racetrack. Dave has always done a very good job in Belgrade, and then with Jerry Bray owning Big Sky Speedway, him being a racer himself has really taken that place leaps and bounds since he's bought it.
Yes, and you've ventured outside the ASCS Frontier Region as the ASCS Northern Plains got started up. Oh gosh, I think last year, maybe the year before, but an additional region, but no tracks that you're unfamiliar with. Gillette Thunder Speedway in Wyoming, not too far west of Rapid City, South Dakota, picked up a couple wins there on July 29th and August 19th.
Yeah. Always loved going down to Gillette. We've been very successful there in past years. And just had the opportunity, had some off weekends up here. I believe we hit one of those after going and hitting at 5 out of 7 of the Speedweek races on the coast with your guys' stuff, but came back and had an off weekend and an opportunity to go down there and turn some more laps. So we took it, and fortunately for us, it worked out in our favor.
Yes, that's something I was going to mention. Was you participated in a lot of the Western Sprint Tour Speedweek Northwest North. You guys went to Grays Harbor for a couple of nights for their Battle Royale, Sunset Speedway Park in Banks, and then 2 nights at Cottage Grove. How was that experience?
But every year I say the same thing as the level of competition over there. They just it's so tough. You've got to be on kill every time you're on the track because everybody over there just takes sprint car racing very seriously. So, for me, it'd been a handful of years since I'd gotten to race over there, and actually I'd never been to Elma or Banks. So. Brand new experience for me getting to go to those 2 racetracks, and that was very, very fun. I mean, I enjoyed all 3 tracks, but just the level of competition. Great drivers, great equipment, great facilities. Just the whole experience is just honestly, it's the best week that we spend racing all year.
Well, and as you mentioned, you guys came back and basically won right off of the bat. So definitely that experience of racing a lot of races in a very short amount of time paid big dividends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we kind of struggled the first part of this year, and I'm not going to say we've had some struggles the last part of this year, but, was kind of down on myself. And then we went out there and made some really good laps, found some, being able to run 5 nights in a row, we were able to try different things with the car and, really found some stuff that benefited our program. And obviously we didn't have the results out there that we would have hoped, but I think it showed when we came back just how much we had learned and how much speed we had picked up.
Well, and overall, so far, an outlook of your season, 2 wins, and we mentioned them both at Gillette with ASCS Northern Plains action. Then 6 podiums, 9 top 5s, 11 top 10s, and 20 starts. That's a lot. That is that's not too bad of a season considering, A, the level of competition, B, still kind of in that return phase, and C, also, and I think this is something worthy to point out, and please forgive me if it isn't, Montana kind of gets a little bit of a late start compared to other places in the country.
Yeah, it's hard to be super enthusiastic about the years that we've had, and everything. But I guess the one thing I can say is, we've always tried to learn from our mistakes, I've always tried to learn from my mistakes, and just try and turn that into something positive. And I think, we've got some pretty good notes going into next year. And, it's, I mean, we've had a good year. Not obviously some of the results we've been looking for, but yeah, I mean, we're moving forward and we're looking forward to next season now too.
Well, and I was going to say for the rest of the year, you guys got championship weekend for ASCS Frontier. That's going to be the 22nd, 23rd at Big Sky Speedway. Is that kind of it for you guys for the season, or are you going to try and maybe hit something in the fall?
I think we're going to see kind of how the last two nights of the year go and see. Obviously, being up where we're at, it's getting to that time of year where the white stuff could show up at any time now. So yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see how this weekend goes with the last two Frontier shows, and go from there. I know there's some stuff over in Oregon that we could potentially still go do, but unfortunately, the later I get in life here, the more my responsibilities have changed, and
sure,
I might end up having to just probably put stuff on the shelf for the year and rebuild for next year after this weekend.
Well, and for next year, is there anything going to be significantly different than this year, or is it just going to kind of be status quo, focus on the ASCS Frontier Region, and then the races you can make outside of Montana, you'll try and make an attempt?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we'll wait and see what the schedules look like when they come out, and what all of my guys are guys that have 7 to 5 jobs during the week. So we'll see what personal schedules can allow. And, I mean, just kind of wait and see what's available for us to do and how much we can do it. But, I think we'll probably continue to run most of the Frontier Region stuff, and then probably try and hit, some of the West Coast Speedweek stuff again. And then maybe throw in a couple other Northern Plains shows as well.
Awesome. And something that needs to be stressed here is I say that there's just 3 tracks in Montana, but they are separated by a long amount of distance. Montana is a huge state if you haven't looked at it on a map. And in order for you guys to compete as much as you do, because sometimes you guys will race Belgrade on a Friday night, and then you have to travel all the way to Billings. And it doesn't sound that far on paper, but it's a long journey, and I know that it takes a lot of money and a lot of sponsor support to make sure that not just you, but all the teams in the region are financed and able to compete.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, Montana definitely is a wide open state, and I think that's what makes racing and living in Montana so unique. And we've been, very fortunate to be able to do it for as long as we have, and that's not without great help. We've got some very good sponsors. The Nesworski family that with CM Tree Service and Timberline Crane Service. Sean and Lee Hoke, who have been with me since I was, probably 16, 17 years old. They've always been, my go-to guys as far as helping out on the car and helping me get things prepared and building everything in the off season. And then obviously we've got my family-owned business, that my grandparents and my father, started and still run today. But I mean, Pacific Recycling, C&L Service, Moon Construction, Kading Performance, Maxim Chassis, Pinella Race Engines, Rogers Race Engines. I mean, all those guys, they just help out so much. We can't say enough about them and what they do for us. And then, last and certainly not least, my wife has been very supportive and getting me back into this thing and keeping me motivated and keeping this thing going down the road as well.
That's totally awesome. Definitely great to have that support. For folks that are curious about perhaps your results, team news, your upcoming schedule, especially for 2024, if there's any apparel to purchase, is there a good social media account or a website that people can be directed to?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew you were going to ask this, and I am totally unprepared to tell you what that is, but give me just a second and I can tell you. I want to say my Instagram is at phildietz72.com. And then, the Facebook page is just Dietz Racing. And then, yeah, you can find all that stuff right there and kind of keep up to date with results and things like that.
Awesome. Well, it's been great having you on the program, and I wish you the best of luck for this upcoming championship weekend in Billings, and hopefully be seeing you very soon.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I appreciate the time.
Well, that is going to do it for this interview. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure and hit the like and subscribe button on whatever platform you found this interview at. It really helps us grow the channel, and we greatly appreciate it. In the meantime, we'll be back with more content and interviews in the future. Be sure and have a great evening or a great rest of your day, whatever time you're listening.